Bradley.
That's me.
Time to what was this called?
Don't
Don't.
give it up, Bradley.
There you go. Unfortunately,
The official name.
Bradley, why don't you talk to us about the Supersonic Duck Squad in One Piece?
Yes, this week in One Piece, we are kind of starting the end game of Alabasta. There's obviously still a lot to go, but made some progress. This week we're starting on chapter 181, the Supersonic Duck Quiz. Just kind of general overview of the approach to this week. I took much less notes than I normally would, just because compared to the first half of Alabasta, this is a lot more action and there's a lot less subtextual things going on here.
Makes sense.
But that doesn't change the fact that it's still One Piece and it's still really good.
It's good action.
Yeah, so like we're probably going to be taking a lot more things at face value. There's probably a lot less regurgitating of several pages of notes, but it's still going to be really good. But yeah, we're starting on chapter 181, Supersonic Duck Quiz. The previous week I kind of left off here because I got the vibe that the big climactic final battle of Alabasta, the rebellion, is about to start, and I wasn't necessarily wrong. So,
But
yeah,
it's
I
just
guess we're
very
just
long.
gonna kind of run into it. It picks off right where we left off, where the rebel forces are approaching Alubarna. Baroque Works top agents are like, "Well, we're here. The rebels are about to be here. Straw Hats are approaching." And we see the Straw Hats coming in on the Supersonic Duck Squad, whom I love, and Oda. Oda in one of the question corners like gave us all their names, and all their names are so fitting for what they look like.
Of course.
He said that he made the names when he made all the ducks, but he left it out just because he thinks it would be confusing for someone to have to immediately learn 6 new names for ducks they might not see a whole lot.
Wow, he has. I will say Oda has changed his mindset in future One Piece.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, he'll introduce 17 ducks, and you gotta know them all.
All right.
All very important at the same time.
But man,
Motherfucker.
like we really are just like getting right into it. The Straw Hats run in, and then we get to see Mr. Four. Like this is the first time we've seen him do action. He pulls out a fucking bazooka and he shoots a baseball that lazily plops down on the ground a little bit, and everyone's like, "Don't go near it," which is a really good comical beat. But you're also like, man, if they got near that baseball, they probably would have fucking died. Even though I don't know what it does at this point.
It plays ball, bro.
Yeah, and so the Straw Hats kind of have this strategy where they're going to split up into 3 groups, which I think is a pretty good call. The Baroque Works agents don't know which group has Vivi. Spoiler alert, she wasn't in any of those 3 groups. She kind of ran off by herself to intercept the rebel forces. And we've talked about this several times before, where going into an arc, Oda is really good at finding ways to split up the main characters into the battles he wants to do. Like maybe Luffy separated from the crew because he did something dumb, or maybe Sanji ran off this way because he wanted to get something that only Sanji would want. Oda's usually really good at being able to find good in-universe reasons to make the matchups that he wants. And he did it here because he split them up because it was an actually good plan to split up their groups so the enemy wouldn't know where Vivi is. And then not only that, the particular matchups that he created were kind of perfect, like Zolo going up against Mr. One or Sanji going up against Bon Clay, which we'll talk about those when we get to them.
Yeah.
Like, I just love the way Oda sets battles up.
This was another good organic way to split up the crew.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the setup of chapter 181. We're just kind of like, hey, this is what we're about to do. We split them up. They're gonna have these individual fights, and then the next chapter is like one of the hardest my stomach dropped in One Piece so far.
Nice.
Because this Vivi gets in front of the rebels There's no one in her way. It's just her and them. And this is what they've been working for the past, I don't know how many volumes, is to get Vivi to the rebels.
In her mind, the whole, like, if they could get her there, she could fix everything.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, they actually did it. There's no Baroque agent. There's like no Baroque Works agents standing here trying to stop her. It's just her and the rebels. Koza is riding towards her. And then the new guy who I consider the main villain and ultimate scumbag of One Piece fires a cannon, which creates a cloud so the rebels can't see Vivi.
Man, I can't wait till you see that guy come back later. He's so strong later.
I can't wait for that guy to...
Such a villain.
Oh, I hate this motherfucker. Like, that just really dropped my heart because we've been operating for the past several volumes. We've been operating under the assumption that if Koza and Vivi are able to meet before he gets to the capital, we win. Like, that is our win condition. And it was just totally taken from us here.
Well, he's also a Baroque Works member, so he's just doing a good job, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a good
Good asshole.
Kind of like Satan's good at being Satan.
You're right.
But yeah, this just like really killed me. And then Vivi almost gets trampled by the rebel forces, and Karoo saves her.
That is such a heartbreaking panel. Oh.
Yeah, like God bless Karoo, man. And you just kind of have to wonder, like, where are we gonna go from here? And actually, we know where we're gonna go. Like, we're gonna have this big battle that Vivi didn't want to happen. She wanted to prevent bloodshed, but it's already happening now. Like, they're already in the city, and they're already about to fight. So I'm kind of flipping through chronologically as I do. Sanji, in quotation marks, rides up on Vivi, and he's like, "Hey, we need to get out of here." And
You mean Usopp?
yeah. And he's like, "We need to get out of here, leave that bird." And of course he says that bird, and she's like, "Wait a fucking second."
There's something interesting here too, where he shows her the arm mark, which we establish is how they would find each other.
Or yeah, like he holds up the armband. And it was funny because for a split second when I saw this panel, I forgot about the armband. So he's like, "Are you doubting me? Look." And I thought he was like showing her his muscles, and I'm like, maybe this is Usopp.
What do you think of this? Like, the armband, that is how they know each other, but Vivi can look at it and say, "Oh, that's not him," conclusively. So what is that? What does that?
Well,
make
I think it was clear from him saying that bird, because Usopp and Karoo, like I feel like Karoo has actually like had a closer relationship with Sanji compared to like the other, not Sanji, goddammit. I feel like out of all the members of the Straw Hats, Usopp is probably the one Karoo had the closest relationship with. Like, we've actually seen them interacting a lot in the background.
And the Little Garden, like, the fighting party was Luffy, Karoo, and Usopp.
Yeah, the fight against Mr. 3. So, like, I think just the fact that this Usopp said that bird was enough for Vivi to be like, okay, this is clearly not Usopp. That being said, a few pages later, and I'm skipping a few pages here, but I'm just to kind of, since this is relevant, a few pages later, in I think the next chapter, we get the whole thing with Zorro saying like, "Hey, we should put a mark under our like armbands, so that way even if someone has an armband, we can tell."
Right.
I don't know if we needed this, because like I don't know, she didn't even look under his armband. Like, why is this a thing?
Well, no, the idea is that the actual signal isn't the armband, it's the X.
Okay.
Right.
So by him not showing the X, she's like, "Oh, he's using the surface level symbol."
Okay. Even then, I think just him saying that bird, like on a character level, I think would have I think that's the more potent part of this.
It was definitely a double.
Yeah. You gotta be, I guess, as safe as possible. Of course, she is like, this is not Usopp. Bon Clay is like, okay, well, I'm just gonna fucking kill you now. So, also, we started a new mini arc between chapters with Mahachi, the
Yeah.
Octopus Man. So, I wonder what's gonna happen to him.
Big things.
Looks like he's in Atlantica from Little Mermaid. So yeah, beginning of this chapter, we get the reveal about like the actual signal. So that explains that. And then we get like a chapter where Karoo is like busting his ass, man, and to save Vivi. And the last time, like, this really put me in the mindset of when Luffy was climbing the mountain at Drum Island, when like Karoo is just really busting his ass to get Vivi up there, because he's really at his limit. Like, he got trampled by like thousands of rebels, and he just had to save Vivi from Bon Clay.
His
And,
face when he's climbing just looks so fucked up.
Oh yeah. So someone give this duck a medal.
I remember last time, if I recall correctly, you said some harsh words about Karoo and the ducks. You were you were defending the Jugongs, and you might have said some harmful words to the ducks. I'm just saying.
I don't remember any of this.
I will.
I think you're making stuff up.
No, it was your hypothetical. I will show you later.
Oh no! All I did was ask a question. I think it was Joe was the one who.
Someone shat on these ducks, and they have some answering to do.
All I did was ask a question. But yeah, this chapter is really like Karoo's moment to shine, saving Vivi. And then the other members of the Duck Squadron come in and kind of help with the cleanup. And then we finally get the setup for Sanji versus Bon Clay. And we get the big reveal that Mr. Prince was Sanji the whole time.
What?
I'm really
No way. Nani?
I didn't see it coming. It is, but you know, looking back, I think the groundwork was there that someone could have conceivably seen it coming. They both have black pants, so
I think Oda jumped the shark here.
Yeah, it is kind of a ass pulley reveal, if you ask me. But you know, it's One Piece, so it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, we'll never get any more character development for Sanji again.
Or Mr. Prince, because he's dead.
Yeah. And then in the same chapter, we also set up Usopp and Chopper, team name Usoppers. No?
Brusop.
Yeah, we set them up against Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas.
I love this fight.
This is the best. This fight is fantastic.
So ready for Miss Merry Christmas to get her ass beat.
you hate her so much.
I hate this woman.
You found out what the baseball does.
Oh yeah, they are time bombs that are like as heavy as cannonballs, and he can just whack these things around willy-nilly. It's very interesting. And also, he has a dog bazooka.
Right.
Dog bazooka. Let's not gloss over this.
No, this is actually really important to talk about. The dog bazooka is crucial.
Yeah, we learned that inanimate objects can receive the powers of a devil fruit.
What is the wording they used in Viz? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, let's see. Well, I don't know where they actually explain.
We'll get to it. They don't talk about it immediately.
Oh, here it is. Mr. Merry Christmas says, on the Grand Line, even inanimate objects can eat devil fruits.
Okay, they're using the word eat. Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I've never taken this eat literally, of course.
I just imagined it as like he crammed a devil fruit down the barrel of his gun to see if it would work, and it worked. That's how I picture it.
Probably only works with objects that have orifices.
Yeah, you know.
No.
Orifices, you say?
Well, whatever. There's more to this story.
Yeah. So the next big chapter, or rather the chapter we're on now, is mostly just kind of the big fight between Usopp and Chopper, which Usopp does his regular strategy of
Being
when
a
he's in
bitch.
danger, he kind of runs away, and then he comes back with like a really clutch move, and then it either works or doesn't, and then he runs away, and then comes back with like an even more clutch move. It's kind of his trademark strategy.
What do you think of the synergy between Miss Merry Christmas's mole fruit and just Mr. Ford being a big boy?
Uh, it's kind of perfect, right? Because wherever he shoots this ball, she's gonna be able to be like on the receiving end of it, and also I couldn't tell if like her power is able to give him some maneuverability, like between him and his dog.
It
Because like,
seems like he can whack-a-mole a little bit through the
'cause, like,
holes.
I think his dog will like go through the tunnels, and then it can like shoot the ball at him, and then he'll hit it. Um, so I think they really do have some synergy here.
It's Chopper is just incredibly clutch, just as Usopp is doing his pussy boy phase.
Yeah. Also, I love the whole deal where Miss Merry Christmas reveals that she can turn into a mole, but before she actually does, they're like, "Oh my God, she totally is a mole woman." This is just a really funny fight. Um, but man, yeah, Mr. Four's ability, I was like, "Holy shit, this is really cool."
I like Chopper shrinking to avoid the bomb. That's just a really logical use of his powers.
Yeah, because this is, I guess, like the second time we've really seen him fight, and so we're getting to see him like use it in some clever ways. Um, Usopp bringing out his 5-ton hammer,
This is such a good scene.
really fucking cool, and the fact that it actually seemed to work for a few pages, I was like, is Usopp dreaming, and then like it's gonna go away, and then it's gonna turn out that he was knocked out the whole time? Because this is totally like a story that Usopp would tell someone to dream up. Like, I pulled out my 5-ton hammer and I swung it and broke his fucking face. I totally thought he was dreaming.
Oh man.
And it kept going, and I was like, holy shit, he's totally swinging around this hammer.
And he swings it like a whack-a-mole, so it's like, holy shit, he's swinging it very fast.
Yeah, and
Usopp superpower.
it's
Yeah.
also just great because this also, like, Oda probably is like, oh, well, if I have someone who's a mole, then I need to give someone a hammer and they're going to play whack-a-mole, right?
Obviously.
And then we get the reveal that, you know, it was like a trick to buy time. It was a collapsible hammer, which totally makes sense. And I love the little diagram of the hammer.
Yeah, pretty good.
It's not actually 5 tons. It's 4.4 pounds. So I guess it maybe slightly made Mr. Four's head hurt.
That being said, they are frying pans, so like that's not exactly,
Yeah,
you know.
we've seen what Princess Peach can do with a frying pan, so
Yeah, but she's not fighting Mr. Four with this 1,000 HP.
you're right.
There's just like it goes without saying, but there's just some phenomenal art. Like
Yeah.
this shot of Miss Merry Christmas just slashing Usopp's face.
There's a lot of good back and forths and trades in this fight. I kind of want to skip to. We have this moment where. So Miss Merry Christmas, she grabs Usopp's feet, and her and Mr. Four are gonna do this finisher move, right?
Yeah.
Where. Well, actually, hold on. She's about to do it, but Chopper. Before they actually complete the finisher move, Chopper kind of pulls this thing out where okay, hold on. Let me make sure I didn't skip a few pages here. Okay. Usopp, or no, god damn it. I get so many character names confused this week. Chopper has this plan to counter Mr. Four's dog gun where like he makes it sneeze and he points it in one of the mole holes.
Good
and
plan.
it shoots this fire out, and holy shit, that was just such a good idea.
It works too. Like it's the biggest damage they've done to this point.
Yeah. And then we move on to doing the finisher move, synergy.
This is such a highlight of this fight for me.
Yeah, so Miss Merry Christmas zooms Usopp towards Mr. Four, who does the Mortal Kombat X-ray move on him.
God damn.
This I won't deny, it looked hype as fuck. Like, that was a cool fucking move. At the same time, even for something as cartoony as One Piece, it felt like a bit of a stretch to me because Usopp took like a several ton metal bat to the face at that speed.
I
And he
like how his nose is a bone.
but later like he tanked this several ton bat hit to the face, but then later his 4.4 pound hammer is able to totally like annihilate Mr. Four. So I thought it was a little weird. I don't know if you guys had that notion.
Fights in One Piece are battles of will, and Mr. Four has zero will.
I guess so.
For me, it just works because of just how fucked up Usopp looks. Like, that is the most fucked up I think he's ever looked. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and like it doesn't like this. It's not a huge deal to me because like One Piece is usually more about the how and why the characters are fighting rather than the fight itself for me. Even though the fights are really cool.
This does set a precedent where Usopp can take quite a beating. Like Usopp, he's a little wimp, but like he can. And it kind of started with Kuro because Kuro beat the shit out of him. He takes a hammer to the face in that arc too, as well. And even though he can't really move afterwards, he can still like. He still struggles to stand up and like try to do something.
So Usopp is officially the tank. I guess this is just kind of like recalibrated my idea of what will and will not kill people in One Piece.
Yeah.
So,
but
I think you're right. I think it is a more character focused like battle of will thing. Like, as long as you have the will to keep fighting, you'll be able to. But if you feel defeated or if you don't have the will, then I guess that's when you lose.
It's also notable that he doesn't really fight after this. Like, it's a lot of Usopp and him just thinking.
Yeah.
But Usopp is doing the maneuvering. Or sorry, not Usopp. Chopper is doing the maneuvering after this fact.
And Chopper's horn boost form looks rad.
It's so cool looking.
So yeah, they kind of do their plan where the finishing move is going to happen again. Usopp jumps out of his shoes. This Merry Christmas gets fucked, and then they slingshot the 5-ton hammer at Mr. Four, and they win. And you can't help but think, like, holy shit, these two young bucks from the Straw Hats just took down top members of Baroque Works.
But also, they're the weakest of the top members in this fight, so you gotta wonder what's coming up.
I think they have the weakest wills out of all of them.
They're definitely the least intimidating. Also, just the fact that Mr. Four gets the Smash Brothers home run record when he hits Miss Merry Christmas is just very satisfying.
Yeah.
With that, we move into Volume 21. And now that we've kind of finished up that fight, we're going to briefly get a look and see, like, okay, the rebels are still doing their thing. Vivi's still trying to find a way to stop this. And then we get to move into Sanji versus Bon Clay, which immediately I liked because I was like, oh, we get the two French-speaking, kick-focused characters versus each other.
And there's some good choreography in the fight as well.
It's kind of perfect that these two go up against each other because they're throwing out their moves, and sometimes I can't tell like which move name goes to which character, but I actually like it that way because they're both just like these Frenchy French moves.
Frenchy fucks.
You got to that horse.
You got some.
Excuse me, Joe.
That's one of the names. Gigo Charlie Le Horse.
And man, I just like how kind of similar the mood at the start and end of the fight is, where they're kind of looking at each other and they see they have some things in common, and there's both of them kind of feel like they're radiating more excitement than anger going into this fight. And as it ends, they kind of seem to have a level of respect for each other. Obviously, Sanji's like, I have more important things to do than stay here fucking with you, but
yeah, I definitely get what you're saying there.
Yeah, I think it was kind of perfect to have these two go up against each other. So going through, you get some fun moves. Bon Clay tries his strategy of looking as hilarious and weird as possible, and he ends up looking like himself, but with like Sanji's nose.
Usopp's nose.
Or God damn it, how many times am I gonna do Sanji and Usopp?
At least 5 more times.
But yeah, he tries to look as funny as possible, and Sanji's like, "You just kind of look like yourself," and Bon Clay is real sad about it. But Bon Clay has other strategies in mind, which we will find out after we cut away to the royal palace, where Vivi has caught up, and she has the plan that what they need to do is destroy the royal palace. And this is just another moment where she is so much like her father, and at first everyone's like, this is the this is the worst idea ever, why would we do this? But Chaka is like, no, she's right. This Everyone's like, oh, the king would never agree to this, but she says something that's like exactly what King Cobra said, where it's like, the people are the kingdom, not the palace, not us. And he thinks back to King Cobra saying that, and he's like, no, this is what the king would want. He's like, we have to do it.
Yeah, it's a really good line.
It really is. So they're gonna do it, and then we cut back to Bon Clay. Okay, here's the thing. Within one panel, we cut from the royal palace to a transfigured Nami stepping on Sanji, which I imagine is just a lot of people's fantasies out there. Like, I saw this and I was like, oh god.
Not in this outfit, or maybe.
Or maybe in this outfit.
Mm.
And then this is another reason why I think this was like the perfect matchup, because I think for any other of the Straw Hats, if he turned into Nami, they would be like, okay, well, I might hesitate a little bit, but you're clearly not Nami. I'm not going to hit you. But like, I think Sanji is the one who would let that lust get the better of him. He is the one who would like hesitate because he's like, oh my god, she's so hot.
He's the horny one. We could just say it. We can say what it is.
So, I think in every way, this was just like the perfect matchup.
Holy shit! There's this panel here where Mr. Two chops Sanji's hard eyes, and it's like it physically hurts him.
Yep.
More importantly, we have Bon Clay Nami almost stripping down, which like Sanji is like simultaneously in heaven and hell, because every time Bon Clay like teases him, he's just like, oh, hey baby, and then
Need some help?
Hey baby, and like, I don't know, it's just so good. And then Bon Clay casually rips off his mascara and throws it as weapons.
I love that.
And I'm just gonna leave it at that because you can take it for what it is.
The great weapon.
Fortunately, Sanji is able to figure out how to counteract this, or not counteract. He kind of finds the weakness in Bon Clay's strategy, where
The weakness?
Weakness.
the weakness, because Bon Clay can only like fully utilize his "Oh come my way" or "Okama way." He can only fully utilize this martial art when he's in his real body, which I think actually makes perfect sense, because like, you think about how many man hours it takes perfecting a martial art,
Yeah.
and a lot of it comes down to like muscle memory and being used to your body and being comfortable with the way you're going to move. And if you're in someone else's body, I don't think you'd be able to move as like instinctually as you normally would.
Quite frankly, Nami's big honkers would not allow him to do anything.
Yeah, it's like a counterweight that he normally doesn't have. So I just think it's like a really cool, believable way that I think it's like it's a weakness that makes sense to me, if that makes and then he even finds like other weaknesses where I think as an extension to that, he sees that Bon Clay will transform back when he touches his left hand to his face. And he ends up using it later in the fight to kind of deal the final blow. I I guess the only other like big notable move in the fight is Bon Clay's awesome swan shoes,
Awesome.
which are very cool. I think this was actually like chapter wise, it was a shorter fight than the Usopp Chopper fight. But man, I really like this one. So
The finishing blow is iconic to me.
yeah, and I really like the way that Sanji and Bon Clay leave each other.
God, that last barrage is fucking sick. They're just
Oh,
going
yeah.
at it.
It's really cool. So we kind of go back to the palace, and I think they're determined to follow through on Vivi's plan. And then we go to oh, we actually see Sir Crocodile has made it to Alabasta.
Yeah, the boys here.
You're just like, holy shit, we lose. And shortly after the reveal that he's here, we cut away to our last pair of fights, I guess we're doing. We have Zorro versus Mr. One and Nami versus Miss Doublefinger. And you just kind of have to wonder, like, even before we see what their abilities are, you're just like, how the hell are they going to beat these people? Because these are like two of the absolute tippy top Baroque agents.
And we saw how strong the other three are, and they were like very tough. And one of them has to fight fucking Nami of all people.
Yeah. And it's so cool because we get this cool panel where Mr. One doesn't attack, but we can't see it clearly. And then this pillar is like split vertically in several places. And you're just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And we learn that he is a human sword. And
He ate the dice fruit. Now, Bradley, I have a fun callback for you.
okay.
Do you remember when they were meeting in the Spiders Cafe? Mr. 2 kicks Mr. 1 out of the building, and it just looks like he's breaking through the wall. But if you go back and reread that chapter, when he's going through the wall, it is a perfect circle, and all the debris behind him is diced.
Dude, that is
So,
really
That was a foreshadowing to his dicing ability.
Oda. He knows how to get me.
Also, you were like, oh, his fingers make a sound effect, which is kind of this fruit is called the super fruit in Japanese, which is the sound of dicing things.
It's nice.
So it was making like a swish super kind of sound, whatever that is.
We get some kind of looks at what he can do to his like arms and hands, and like we see that like he really can like turn any part of his body into a blade, like the underside of his fingers. So like you just imagine like if he grabs you, it's over.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if he grabs you, it'll just cut whatever he grabbed off. So you can think about that.
No, thank you.
And then as we're setting up Nami versus Miss Doublefinger, we get the kind of flashback of when she's asking, she's kind of how do you call it?
Commissioning.
Yeah, commissioning Usopp to make her this weapon, which is a really cool weapon, even before we see it in action, just from the description of it. Like, they'll combine in different ways to do different attacks, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see what this is going to do. And, like, Nami gets impaled from behind, and not in the way that I want. She gets spiked by Miss Doublefinger.
It sure looks cool though.
It does look really cool. And Miss Doublefinger, it's a somewhat similar ability to Mr. One's. She can turn any part of her body into spikes.
Yeah, these are really fun fruits.
Unfortunately for her, Nami is now a magician, and she can fly out of the climate baton. But clearly that wasn't what she meant to do. She actually meant to shoot flowers out of the end of it.
Right.
Which was also just a ruse.
Every
because-
rose has a thorn or something.
Yeah, some shit like that. A lot of the first half of this fight is Nami trying to figure out how to use this weapon, struggling with Usopp's instructions, and kind of doing trial and error with the bubbles to figure out what works and what doesn't.
And Miss Doublefinger is just doing sick ass attacks, like this Gatling attack with the spikes, and just when she buffs up and turns into a ball. Her moves are really cool looking.
Yeah, like her standing on the ceiling and then showing like the cross section of the spikes going into the ceiling was really
Yeah.
cool. She does a lot of really fun stuff with spikes. but Nami is able to kind of work out what's going on with the climate baton, and she gets ready to actually fight. And we kind of get some cool experimentation here with the heat bubble, the cool bubble, the thunder ball, and she's just kind of testing the waters. And it's kind of good that this stuff isn't working right now, because it lures Miss Doublefinger into that false sense of security where she's actually kind of letting Nami experiment, because she's like, this is just sad.
This move where she's on her stilettos and she's just like sway walking towards her is so funny looking.
Oh yeah,
man! I think this is my favorite Nami fight to this day. This is a really fun one.
It's really cool because we see like it's really cool because like wind is created like when hot air and cold air collide and stuff like that, and so that's kind of what the climate baton operates on, is making these gusts of wind. And like her doing the cyclone tempo, like it just reminded me of like, I don't know, like Aang from Avatar, like swinging his glider and there's like a huge gust of wind. It just felt really cool and fluid to me.
Yeah. And if you'll remember, Nami has had like, she's had scenes where she really shows her understanding of the weather. As part of her navigation skill, she has shown before her weather-based skills.
Yeah.
And this is a really cool application of that into combat.
And then we see Nami die.
Yeah, anyways, on to Zorro.
Man, that was that panel really had me scared as shit for a second.
Good fake out. That's a good style of fake out.
She does the Mirage thing, which this is another one of those things where for something that's not a Devil Fruit power, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I didn't care for it a whole lot, but I guess the same thing was done in JoJo's, so if I accept it there, I'll accept it here.
Yeah, you gotta have even more lenience with One Piece fights than JoJo fights, because they don't even try to pretend like they're not goofy fun.
Yeah, One Piece has more Toon Force, even, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way to put it.
So yeah, like she gets to do really cool stuff with like wind and the atmosphere, and I think introducing this weapon was a really good way to have Nami be in more fights from here on out,
or at least have good support roles.
Yeah. So it looks like Sanji, Usopp, and Chopper were kind of able to rendezvous after their fights, and they're trying to figure out what the next move is as the rebels are kind of breaking into the intersection of the city to take the palace. Miss All Sunday is using her awesome hands to prevent them from doing this, while Mr. Crocodile, that's not his name, Sir Crocodile.
It's so different.
Mr. Crocodile crucified the king.
Yeah.
He totally got nailed up on the wall, and he asks King Cobra about some things we haven't heard of up till now, but that are totally game changers for the world of One Piece.
Indeed. Let's talk about it.
One of these things being the Pluton, is that how you'd pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like an island destroying weapon, which, holy shit, in the context of One Piece, this, like, whoever has this weapon would actually be like they would be exactly what Crocodile wants to be. They'd be like the strongest military force in the world.
It is a very important part, and I really like how everyone reacts to it, where Vivi has no idea what it is, Robin is just quiet, and then Chaka is just, there.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where the people who do know about it are like chilled to the bone of him mentioning it.
True, when I said Chaka is just there, I should have said Chaka is there shitting himself in worry.
Yeah, and then like, I'm not even surprised that a lot of people didn't know about it, because if you had a weapon like that in your possession and you weren't going to use it, you'd want to never mention it because you don't want people to try to kill you and take the weapon.
Yeah.
Like what's happening here. So yeah, we kind of dropped that bomb, no pun intended, and we come back to Nami and her fight, and Miss Doublefinger tries to give Nami the kiss of death by turning her lips into a spike, which is just another really cool move.
Don't forget her boobs. The boobs are also spikes.
Oh yeah,
That's,
I mean, whose boobs aren't?
most people, but
Only when it's cold. So, we get kind of some more cool climate baton moves, including the sprinkler.
which this is all very cool setup for the big finale shot.
Yeah, because we have to get moisture in the air, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's why she's doing sprinkler.
And man, it's just like several pages is just like kind of one cool move after another. Nami is doing a lot of these things that aren't necessarily directed at Miss Doublefinger. They're just setting up, and it's clear that she's setting up for something. But I like that it's not obvious what she's setting up for, so there's like really good tension for the reader.
Yeah, it's really good in retrospect, but as you're reading it, you're just as confused.
Because like in a lot of other big plays we've seen, like on like when Karoo and Usopp were setting up for setting Mr. 3 on fire and stuff and like melting all the wax,
Mm-hmm.
like it was clear what they were setting up for, which doesn't make it any less cool. But I really like that this is kind of another thing like that where she's clearly setting up for something, but we don't know what yet. So I don't know. I think it's just fun to see. I think it's fun to see that, and it's also hard to execute setting up for a grand plan on screen without making it clear what that grand plan is.
Yeah, but pretty good job done in all these scenarios.
Yeah, and then we see Miss Doublefinger. I don't know if I missed something here. She stabs her shoulder, and then her arms get huge. Am I supposed to know what this is?
No, she's just buffing herself up.
Okay.
Like some sort of nerve stimulation kind of thing.
Maybe so. Her arms do look really cool after they're all spiky.
She do be buff.
She do be buff. But Nami, we see, has made a cloud, which she is able to eventually activate with the thunder bubble, shocking Miss Doublefinger. And the panel where she gets shocked is one of the coolest panels I've seen in a long time.
I like the shadowing there. Looks real nice.
It looks really sick. I don't think that quite finished her off.
There's one last big blow, which has Nami sacrificing her foot for the big finisher. Which this is just like such a badass like moment from Nami in general.
Yeah. And this is, I think this is what I really needed to cap off this fight and make it great, because combat-wise, this was already a good fight, but you really want your fight to do something character-wise too. And I think this is the moment that really did it, where Nami admits that stopping her with her foot is really gonna fucking hurt and it's gonna suck, but she does it anyway because she's like, the amount of pain Vivi has endured for her kingdom, and even like just us, the Straw Hats, is nothing compared to this. So she's like, I'll gladly do it.
And this is Nami's big Straw Hat badass moment. You know, Usopp had his where he's. It was notable. We didn't really talk about it, but Usopp was offended that they made fun of Luffy's drive, and that was like his big Straw Hat badass moment of this arc. Which this would be his second one because he also had one in Arlong Park. But like this is Nami's first big moment like that.
Yeah, and like I just love this because after she did like her foot sacrifice, I think back to the Nami we knew before Arlong Park, who, even though she would like adventure with the Straw Hats and she would even like fight alongside them, she was primarily concerned about herself and her own well-being back then. And you just see how far she's come, and I just love it.
It's great. I like how she's terrified that her move is worthless at first. That's a good build up to the final like little twisty attack.
So yeah, good fight. We come back to Pluton talk, where we learn about this island destroying weapon, and holy shit, it's really scary, and I can't wait to. I bet there's going to be a whole arc or many arcs about this weapon, or that involve it, or not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, Mr. Crocodile is not getting a lot of answers he wants, so he asks about something else. The poneglyph.
Oh boy.
Poneglyph, Poneglyph. I don't know how you'd say it.
Welcome to real ass One Piece right now. This is real hours.
Yeah, and this is like a historical record, which you can just imagine how many like secrets someone could retrieve from a record like this.
A lot.
So
A
it's kind of big.
lot of plot.
And then we cut away to the next big fight we have to get out of the way, which is Mr. One versus Zorro. Which again, it's just one of those perfect. It's just one of those perfect matchups that we needed, where it's like
This is the perfect matchup too. I think like
yeah,
this is such a challenge for Zorro to overcome.
yeah, just the wants to be world greatest swordsman versus the swordman man.
Sword man.
And this is kind of a goal that Zorro has told himself he wants to be able to achieve eventually, is cutting through steel, which he's going to have to do to beat this guy.
Yeah, I believe he's mentioned that like explicitly in previous arcs.
Yeah, he totally has. And it's been a thing, I think, ever since Little Garden, where I think Zorro's been struggling with his perception of how strong he is. I think starting with Little Garden, whenever he gets back on the ship, he'll like lift weights. He's constantly curling stuff, and the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates will kind of draw attention to it. And I've kept tabs on it, and he really has been doing this whenever they're lounging, just like in the background.
Yeah.
Um,
Big muscle head now.
yeah, he really wants to kind of surpass these limits that he thinks he has.
Really, it's been an extension ever since he lost to Mihawk. It's been an upward trend.
Yeah, and so this is kind of like this fight is getting us our next step towards that. And so kind of the first half of this fight is a lot of just really fucking cool
attacks
fighting. Like
yeah.
Mr. One does this Kamehameha motion, and it splits the building in 5 different parts.
Such
and it looks
a good one.
really cool. And then we get to kind of the last like 1 or 2 chapters of this fight. It's kind of the finale, and it's kind of the character focused portion of the fight.
How about Zorro throwing that house though? That's pretty good.
Yeah, holy shit. Because my man lifts.
But,
Oh, yeah.
but what about what's the Swordmaster's name? And what he says?
Right, his Swordsmaster does say some important things here.
Yeah. So as far as like everything that's about to come after this, starting with the flashback, I'm gonna do my best to give my interpretation of what I think it's trying to say and what it means for Zorro's character.
Okay.
This is one of those moments where I don't entirely know if I understand what Oda was going for, and it might be due to translation stuff. I had to read this chapter over several times to, I think, get what we're going for here, but we'll try it out. In general, starting with the flashback, Zorro tells his master he wants to be able to cut through anything, and he's heard there are swordsmen that can cut through anything. His master says that is true, but those same swordsmen that can cut through anything are also the ones who are able to not cut through anything. And what he means by this is that they have enough control over their will and their sword to be able to hurt what they want to hurt and protect what they want to protect. And this put me a lot in the mindset of Rurouni Kenshin, which I think that's a big running theme of it. Is
So, fun fact, Oda was an assistant on Rurouni Kenshin.
That's right, I forgot.
Yeah.
So Oda's a hack. This One Piece is just Rurouni Kenshin.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a really, I think it has that theme in common with where a sword, people have kind of different ideas about what a sword is and what it should be used for, whether it can protect, whether it's only to kill, whether it's both. And Zoro's master says like a true master of the sword can use it for both of these purposes. And so basically keeping this in mind, we kind of have okay to kind of ground us back in reality. Zorro finishes this flashback and he throws the house, and he kind of gets the lethal blow dealt to him shortly after.
Yeah, the saw blade forearms.
Yeah, and he kind of gets a pillar collapsed on him. And in the aftermath of this pillar falling down, we see that none of the rubble hit him. He was able to. He didn't even really dodge it. He just knew that the stones weren't going to fall there. Um,
Wow.
and he kind of has this peace of mind that he didn't before in the midst of this fight, where he's kind of acutely aware of everything around him, and he kind of calls it
The
he
breath.
calls it sensation breathing. He can feel the breathing of his environment. And shortly after, and we'll talk about the finishing blow more in a second. He's able to actually do the finishing blow against Mr. One. So in general, I think what we're doing here is that we kind of took a necessary step in Zoro's character and becoming this master swordsman, where I think he's been so hyper focused on the goal of being able to cut anything and overpower anyone, when he should have been being focused on what his master told him, which is like having enough control over your will and your sword to use it how you want.
Which is a very One Piece kind of One Piece combat kind of lesson to have.
Yeah, and I think the turning point for Zoro here is when that rubble was falling on top of him, because I feel like previously Zolo would have. Did I say Zolo?
You did.
God.
That's two Zolos. This
Welcome
podcast.
to the cast. So,
Don't give it up, Bradley.
yeah, this rubble's falling on top of him. I feel like previously Zoro would have been like, "Oh, well, I'll just cut through the rocks because I can, and it looks cool that way." But I think instead he kind of has this awareness where he's like, I don't need to do this with my sword. I don't have to use it for that if I can just not get hit by the stones. And I think doing this simple act kind of was able to ground his master's words into his head, where it's like, use the sword for what you need to use it for when you need to use it.
He has the line also, my sword understands my will.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point of the lesson, I feel like.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I interpreted everything with Zoro in this fight and his master. I want to know kind of what you guys' takes on it was.
That's basically my take, and I just want to say to Joe that Oda's a god.
Yeah, I guess.
This is going to kind of, like, I'm sure we're not done with this line of thinking.
Nah.
But yeah, I had to kind of read the chapter a few times to understand what we were doing here, but I do think it works for Zoro's character.
This chapter is definitely worth remembering. There's a lot here.
And then because of this character stride that Zoro has made, he is able to cut through steel, and he's able to cut down Mr. One, which, again, a fight in One Piece is not complete for me if it doesn't do at least something for one of the characters. And I think all the fights we did in this past 1.5 volumes did that.
This is a really good stretch of fights.
Yeah. And then the volume ends, and Viz tells you to buy My Hero Academia.
What is that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Is that the worm manga?
Oh, it must be. So that's where I ended this week, just because I realized I ran out of volumes that Willard.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point too.
So,
Actually, this is a perfect stopping point because then you get the big climax, which I believe takes like 1 or 2 volumes left.
Yeah, I think that is a good stopping point because like we did all the fights that we set up for immediately, like against all the top Brokeworks agents. So
I'll go drop off your next batch in a second here.
Okay, that'll be good. But yeah, One Piece.
Did you like this section, Bradley?
I did like this section.
Yay.
Very cool. Some good fights.
Looking back on it, like if someone like Alabasta has a very strong running for best arc to this day, I think.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I had always heard that One Piece gets to like stuff that's on this scale, but actually seeing it is like, holy shit, you wouldn't imagine little village boy Luffy would eventually be here.
There are several arcs that hit this like incredible high where it's like, oh, if this is your favorite arc, totally understandable.
Yeah.
Joe, you got anything? Tyler, you got anything?
The big thing, I don't think there's really much to talk about. Like,
uh, Alabasta sets up a lot, especially these fights sets up a lot of things later down the line for One Piece
Yeah.
in terms of both like story building and world building and just combat styles. Yeah.
I like Alabasta for the different story it has. That like we follow the typical tropes, but I really like the part where Bradley talks about Prince Vivi like stepping in, and like that whole thing kicks off after that. Like, and so then there's like two different stories going on in this,
Yeah,
as well as just all the split up characters. But then there's like two main stories going on, and I really like that.
Yeah, there's the Straw Hats holding back Baroque works, but then Vivi keeping her country together, and they're both just like really fun stories for different reasons.
And Tyler's right. Like, it's kind of juggling these two simultaneous storylines right here, but it doesn't feel jarring. I feel like he spends just enough time on each one to where it doesn't feel like weird when we get back to the other one.
He gets better at that.
Yeah.
And then he gets worse, and then he gets better again.
You know, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
But I would say the one trend is the bouncing might jump around. Ironically, it might bounce around in quality with how well he can bounce. But I always feel like the story he's telling gets consecutively better.
There you go.
Joe would probably agree.
Yeah.
That was a great One Piece talk.
Yeah, I really like talking about this one, which is crazy because I took almost no notes, but going through
I'm very excited for
The next,
the climax.
the
'cause
climax is so effing good.
It's so good. Like, I love the climax of Alabasta.
the climax of Alabasta.
Good shit, guys. On that note, this is the portion of the podcast where we let two people of the island go home. I vote Bradley and Tyler.
I vote Bradley.
you said you had the freaking cast with Joe, so
No,
yeah.
it's the fork in you cast.
It's right. Anyways, hold on. Before we get there, Bradley, do you have a hypothetical for us to close the day off?
All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have okay, you're getting married, right?
Oh God.
You're about to get married.
Am I?
Before the wedding, you go to your fiance's family's house for a game night.
Uh-huh.
And you draw a card, and you're gonna have to play whatever game is on that card, but it's not gonna be the game you think it is. So let's say they give you a choice of 3 cards. Actually, you're not even drawing out of a random pile. It's gonna be 3 cards. One of them says tag. One of them says Red Rover, and one of them says Ring Around the Rosie.
Okay, I have a question before. What is normal Red Rover? I don't know if I played that one ever.
When you have 2 teams that line up in a line and link hands, and you have to try to run through the other people's line of hands. You have to join the other people's team.
Okay. Go on, Bradley.
Yeah. So they show you these 3 cards. You have to pick one of these games to play, but little do you know it's not going to be quite the game you're familiar with. Which one do you choose? And then I'll tell you what the game is.
One more dumb question. How does Ring Around the Rosie work again?
You just spin around in a circle and sing the song, and then you fall down at the end.
Pocket full of posy.
Jesus Christ, that sounds like a death sentence.
I choose tag because I run around.
I do Red Rover because I don't want to run around and tag.
Okay, Joe chooses.
Well, hold on. What about Tyler? What do you want?
I'm gonna go with tag. That sounds the least harmful if I'm thinking of other things.
So Joe and Tyler choose tag. So you choose tag, and they're like, "Oh no, we have to play tag. This is terrible." And you're like, "Why? It's just tag." And they tell you that the dad's like, "I'm it," and everyone bolts out of the room as hard as they can. One guy even jumps through the window to get out. He's so desperate to get out. And the dad, Wolverine claws sprout out of his hand, and he's trying to tag you with his claws. And if he tags you, he cuts you open.
You can still feasibly survive, possibly.
Yeah. Also, he can run like 50 miles an hour.
Okay, you're dead.
Red Rover is they're like, "Oh God, we have to play Red Rover. This is terrible." So everyone lines up on either side of the room, holding hands like you would normally do in Red Rover. and then they say, "Hey, so and so, come over." And much like Red Rover, you have to try to break through the enemy line. Except before the participant runs over in this scenario, the family has football pads with 1 foot long steel spikes all over it. So that way the people you run into get impaled like Swiss cheese.
I feel like I still have the best chance of survival because football pads make their movement bad and I can feasibly slip under their legs while Joe and Tyler are just dead.
I feel like if I just make it to an airport and on a flight,
There you go.
I'm good for a while.
That's a bold claim that you think you can make it there, but I guess.
And then since no one picked Ring Around the Rosie, they just beat you up.
Nice. Bradley, thank you so much for the torture.
I do what I can.
You,
I want to
you,
try to do hypotheticals based on something we talked about that
You've-
week.
you've done it the last 3 times quite well, I think.
I get better.
It's good. It's good stuff.
So, have y'all talked about The Shining on here before?
No. You want to talk about The Shining next time?
Maybe. I watched The Shining for the first time, like all the way through sitting down this week.
Oh shit. I do want to talk about that. That's my favorite horror movie, I think.
Damn.
Holy crap.
It's good, huh? I mean, we should save this.
It's so... Yeah, but that if the special guest doesn't die, like I have to make my space deliveries every week, so I
Yeah.
could run out of space gas again.
Everyone please send a prayer to Tyler out in space.
To the Tyler gods.
Yeah.
Oh, thank y'all.
Have a nice flight, Space Cowboy.
See you later, space kids.
I will also leave for the duration of the freaking UCast.
Fork and you cast.
They don't know. They don't know, Joe.